Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrel. Oh my gosh.
That right there is your T-Series droid.
Is he a T-Series droid because he can't talk right?
So
T-Series droids actually are pretty precise talkers.
I posted that blog of his and I said Roger, and I'm saying to myself, I don't think the T-Series droid talks like that. I think it has a better, form of communication, but clearly it is. I was incorrect in that thought process.
Is talkers even a word?
Let me.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a word.
It's a word. I didn't think conversate was a word, but it is.
Use talkers in a sentence, please.
I don't know. I just did. All right, I'm crosswire too, I guess. So me and Kyle and I are T-Series droids that have bad forms of communication, and here we are with the Notorious Scoundrels podcast.
Yeah,
right, Kyle, you want to try that again?
We can just leave all this in.
No, we're gonna leave it in. We're leaving it all in. But you want to try it again?
All right, we
fluent in over 6 million forms of communication.
Yeah, welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and David and Zach. We just had GenCon this weekend. How you guys doing?
Man, you started with GenCon, and I was like, "Oh, we're gonna get there."
No, now you can answer
I'm doing fine.
Yeah,
I'm doing fine.
Okay,
there you go. How about you guys?
I'm doing pretty good. We watched some pretty fun games all weekend. Hung out together, chatted about Legion. Had some good times. Gave away a lot of awesome prizes and made a lot of people happy. So it was a good weekend overall.
Yeah, I had FOMO all weekend. I was missing out joining in with you guys, but it was fun doing it on the back end side. We were, we had a lot of judge requests actually. As opposed, speaking of that, real quick, right? Like Invader League.
Sorry, can you back up? FOMO.
Yeah. Fear of missing out.
Okay.
Sorry. All right. Kyle, again, you're killing me. But it's funny. Like it made me appreciate Invader League a lot more. In the moment, I got frustrated with Invader League quite a bit this season. But when there was 20 judge questions coming up in Gen Con, I'm just like, oh, this is what a day, a single day tournament is really like, as opposed to a tournament that's run across 3 months and people can play at their leisure. I'm like, oh man, I forgot what this is like. So it gave me a little bit of appreciation back for Invader League.
Yeah, the judge. I could do a whole separate thing about the judge team was great. It's very interesting judging an online event because you're not walking over to tables. So it's both easier and harder. You're basically popping into a TTS room and doing some kind of judge call. But yeah, most of it was weird. It was like feast or famine. We'd go 20 minutes without something, and then 6 people would blitz us at once with judge questions. And also, I think I've decided the thing I dislike most about MOV is the fact that judges have to witness concessions.
Yeah,
I think the last 40 minutes of each round was just judges hopping back and forth between rooms witnessing concessions.
I think maybe standard practice in tournaments that are high profile like this is just be gracious to your judges and finish your games. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's we had a decently sized judge team, but we only had 2 to 3 judges on shift at a given time. Yeah. And for a real in-person event, it's not super common to have more than 2 to 3 judges, period. I'm picturing a similar sized event with 30 plus tables, and the last 40 minutes of a round, you got 2, maybe 3 judges walking around, witnessing concessions and also having to deal with very important and time sensitive judge calls at the same time. I guess we'll see how this goes at a real event, but I felt like our resources were strained in the last part of a round. And a lot of it was just they were not contentious confessions. It's just show up, sign off on the board state and call it a day. Yeah. That was most of them. It was like a rubber stamp basically, but
Maybe
Anyway,
maybe you can fill me in on the history of this. Like, why was that changed? Like, because it didn't used to be that way.
well, because it didn't used to be that the score of the game was relevant for tiebreakers.
Yeah, you confirm the VPs basically, which is like the most important part for the scoring of the MOV, and you need both players to kind of agree on the board state at the time of the concession to get the correct score in, and it has to be agreed upon too. Like the player conceding and the person accepting the concession have to agree in the board state, or I think if like the person conceding doesn't agree, they get 0%, and the person getting the concession will get 100% of the points rather than the percentages. It's really strange.
No, yeah. So it's if both players agree, then it's just wherever you stop the game. That's the board state, and you score it that way in VPs. If only one player agrees, and usually it would be the winning player in this case that disagrees, then they would get essentially the game washes out their MOV. So you take an average of their other game's MOV and apply it to that game, and then the losing player gets 0%.
That's what it was. Okay, the average, not 100%, but the average and then 0% for the okay, yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way you could solve it, like just sign the match slip or something and say like I agree to the way this is written up or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The problem is it's complicated because you have situations like I had one, for example, where I think it was like round 5, and the score was 3-0, and the player that had 3 points was going to score R2 on the next turn, and there was like literally nothing their opponent could do about it. So the score was guaranteed to be 4-0 if they finished the game, and it would take like an extra 10 minutes maybe to do that. There was nothing that could happen that would change that state. So they're like, can we just score it 4-0? And I had to be like, no, you're not allowed to. You can stop now and score it 3-0. And, you know, the one player that was losing was getting his, like, he wanted to concede. He's like, I don't want to waste another 10 minutes of both of our times. But like, do I have to do that to give you 4-0? And the answer in this case was yes. Because if the winning player didn't accept the concession, then he'd get whatever the average of his other games were, which was less. So they ended up playing it out. The guy that was conceding was nice ultimately and said, fine, we'll play for an extra, whatever this takes, 5-10 minutes. But I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. And I didn't mean for us to open this cast with another MOV rant. We did that on a whole nother
episode.
Episode.
I have one question that I genuinely would like to see if you have an answer to, because I don't know the answer. What happens if, theoretically, there's a disagreement in all of your games, not that it's super likely, and all of your opponents concede, but you don't accept, they don't accept them, and you would take the average of all the other ones, but there's no ones to take the average from?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Sounds like a super rare scenario, but I see what you're talking about, because like you don't have anything to base this average off of.
Well, I mean, like for instance, like in Vader League single elims, like I had like 4-ish concessions on like turns 3 and 4. Like, you know, I would have probably fought to play those games out if it was like an MOV thing. So I'm just curious as to how that would have ended up playing out in like a real life scenario.
Yeah, I mean, generally, I guess the thing that I hate most about this is that concessions are potentially contentious.
Yeah, for sure.
And the fact that, you know, judge resources were essentially strained to witness them highlighted this particular drawback for me. And I didn't mean to turn this into a broader discussion on MOV, but that is...
Well, geez, Kyle, that's what you did.
Well, I mean, it's a discussion worth having if there really is a problem, you know, and like you say, if the judge staff is potentially strained in an online event, I can't imagine that it gets any better when you translate this to the real world.
I mean, there was some logistical stuff with this event where, like, you know, in order to go to a table, you couldn't just walk over to it, right? You had to like log into the game and you know.
Right.
Yeah, although that was pretty fast. You know, I had TTS open. We standardized the passwords in the room names. So somebody would just be like, you know, table 20 or whatever, and you just log in and type in table 20 and TTS in the same password and get in there. It actually wasn't really that much slower than just walking to a table. I see what you mean, though. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is here. I think maybe like if you did like a hard cap on the maximum MOV you can score to like 0.7 or something like that, and just said concessions equal maximum MOV, full stop, and judges don't have to witness them. I don't know. Maybe that would work. I don't know what the solution is, but just as a judge, it was a mildly frustrating aspect of the new scoring system, which luckily didn't come into play at all because of the format. We had 8 undefeated players, exactly 8 undefeated players move on to day 2, so that was good. Which is sort of another interesting aspect of it. Like, people were super worried about it throughout the whole event, it being MOV, and we had to go through all the bookkeeping and stuff to make sure we tracked it. And then ultimately, because it's possible, like if a pair down lost or didn't lost, I don't know, there was a result where it could matter, and we didn't know until after the third round was over whether that was going to be the case. So it was like weird going through all these hoops to track it and ultimately have it be irrelevant.
I feel like that meme from A Beautiful Mind where all the numbers are like flying in front of the guy's face right now.
That's Bushman, isn't it?
That's John Bushman in real life, by the way. John is our guy that did all the math.
Yeah. In an optimal world, the tiebreaker system doesn't matter, right? Because you're just having the winners move on.
Correct.
Round. So,
it matters. It matters if you're not making the cut and you want to get a weather vane on where you were at.
I mean, that's fair, but I think we could have a completely different conversation on whether that weather vane means anything.
Right. That's subjective. Right.
Yeah. But why don't we kick into what we were actually going to talk about today?
Yeah, might as well
derail us from the start.
It was an interesting talk. I thought it was cool. I mean, I don't
know. So we did in fact have a winner of the tournament.
Yeah, somebody won.
Yeah, Josiah Brickhardsmeyer. Is that so? This is JJ from the Discord. Is that your real name, JJ? Let us know. Like because that is a very dynamic name. That's up there with Hercules Rockefeller.
You have to say it. You have to say it with a German accent. Brickhardsmeyer. You have to say it correctly.
Yeah. I'm sorry if I butchered that, Josiah. JJ. I'm going to call you JJ in my brain still.
Yeah, just call him JJ.
Yeah. He did also play in Invader League, made elims with Republic and made it pretty far. JJ's Juggernaut is his Discord handle. So, but yeah, congrats. He ran a Saber tank. So this tournament was with just what's street legal for real life events. So no arcs, no BX droids. So he basically ran a Republic list with the Saber, and Rex and a bunch of clone troopers.
Yeah,
obviously it worked out. You guys, did you cast? I mean, you were watching the final. You want to talk about what happened ever so briefly?
Yeah, and I think seeing the Saber tank in the final was cool, but I think maybe more cool was the fact that Team Rogue One was on the other side of the board, which I thought was really fantastic and awesome. Seeing a thematic list make it to the finals of a major event is pretty cool.
And on Scarif.
It also lost on Scarif, which is kind of appropriate. The Saber tank came in like the Death Star and killed everything.
Was this Aaron Amelia, the Rogue One list guy?
Yes, the Lord of Paper Towels.
Okay. Yeah. It's I guess unthematic that the Saber tank didn't have the beam turret, right?
Truth. But I mean, it had an easy time super lasering, right? Because it's a Rex list.
There were several other heavies in the top 8. 3 AATs in addition to the Saber. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That sounds right. I mean, I casted 6 games over the course of the weekend. I think there was no less than 7 AATs across those 6 games.
Okay.
It was a lot of AATs, and they were everywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's and I think was it Morris that was running the double AAT list? Like
one
a bunch of naked B1s, one of the double AATs, and then Grievous. Yeah, so that was a popular list idea, and obviously worked out pretty well. So, yeah, it's nice to see the new heavies making a splash.
I mean, I think this tournament really cemented the notion that Clone Wars armor is quite strong, at least when our troopers are absent. But you know, the AAT is going to be a monster. I think it's already making tons of waves, and you know, FFG they've been slowly tweaking the balance of vehicles, trying to make them really fearsome. And I really feel like the Saber tank and the AAT are like some of the most fearsome heavies out there. And I think they're finding they're closer and closer to finding that point where the vehicle tips over and says like, okay, here I am, and I'm going to mess your day up unless you have a plan for me. And I think that's what they intended, and I think they're closer and closer to the mark as time goes on.
Yeah, like you can't ignore them, as opposed to like, let's say the ATSD. You see the ATSD on the board, and you're like, all right, I'm going to ignore it. Saber tank and AATs, especially like the double AAT, because you really generally you don't have anything to shoot other than the AATs. Like you basically put the AATs forward. The droids are basically meat bags that just follow the train, and you need to take out their firepower in the AATs. If you don't have an answer for it, you're in trouble. And that's good to see. Like it makes building a list being all comers list even more difficult. I know we've talked about this in the past, but building an all comers list when you're thinking about a gun line or a Jedi or tauntauns and stuff like that, you think about that. But now you have to start thinking about vehicles and do you have an answer for them? Now, Critical One, of course, is usually a good answer for it, but Rebel DLTs and ARCs come to mind, etc., and T-21Bs. Which you see them in a lot of army lists anyway. So inherently, you will end up having an answer sometimes, but there are lists that don't have answers too.
I'm going to hot take this real quick. I actually don't think the AAT and the Saber is better than current vehicles. I think they're supported better by the lists that they're in. Like the dice pool on the ATST and the Saber tank is almost the same. Like it's really not that different.
Yeah, if I could take an ATST and Separatists, I think I would do it instead of the AAT.
Yeah, like I think I think the heavy conversation for me lately is a lot less about the actual chassis and a lot more about like how well the army operates around it, right? Like if you take an ATST and Imperialist, it's very difficult to build like a coherent army behind it. Whereas if you take a Saber tank, like there's a lot of synergy there, with fire support and other clone mechanics. Like you can share tokens with the Saber tank, or you can use like Padme's Exemplar to give an additional attack. And I think that if the Rebels and Empire had abilities like that for their vehicles, I think we'd see a lot more of them.
I'm legitimately shocked that you would take an ATST and Separatist over an AAT. Losing 2 health, losing access to the you lose 2 health, it's true, but you lose access to the red dice with Surge on 9 health. Like that seems to be pretty amazing to me, especially with armor.
Well, I also think that, like, for instance, if there was a game that I streamed this weekend between Kingsley and Sean Morris, and it was Kingsley playing triple tawns against a double AAT list, and basically he ignored the AATs, right? Other than he fired a bunch of sniper shots into them. Like the only damage he could do to them was with snipers, and he actually rolled crazy well and ended up putting like 8 crit pierce shots into one AAT, but neither of them died. And like, I don't know. I think that a lot of lists just can't deal with armor.
You're missing an important piece of information: is that Kingsley lost that game.
Well, sure, but
because he ignored them.
Well, my point is that like he did basically everything he could. Like he couldn't shoot them with anything else; they would have destroyed anything before they got there. And I don't know. I do think that overall I think the chassis matters a lot less than you can take 2 AATs and Grievous and like not feel bad about where you are in your army. Like you still got like 8 or 9 activations with an uplink,
Yeah, that'd be like if you could run 2 ATSTs plus Vader and like 6 core units.
Right. Like I would do that in a heartbeat. I think that would be legit, but like you can't. And so I don't know. That's my general feel on it.
I just think that I think they're actually really amazing, and I think they're just going to get better as time goes on.
Oh yeah, I don't think we're saying that the new heavies are not amazing. But I think what makes them amazing, as much as the unit themselves, is how they fit into the faction.
Sorry, I'm still hung up on this ATST and separate. Is like you'd really trade critical 3 and high velocity away.
I mean,
and a 360 gun.
The ATST has a stronger overall dice pool consistently.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to maneuver as much. The AAT doesn't have to maneuver.
I mean, the ATST is also faster, and it has the Eye of Sauron effect, which I think is grossly underestimated, particularly on real tables.
Yeah, but think of the separatist tank can hover on top of a building, and you get the same thing.
It's also worth noting to this conversation, now that we're in it, is that the ATST was actually very good for like a couple months there while comms relay was a thing.
Yeah,
and that's basically what separatist armies are.
When you could attach it to Krennic, it was really good, and now you can attach an AAT to Grievous or Dooku.
Yeah. Right, and that's essentially like, for example, Luke Cook ran an ATST with the comms relay thing in season 4, last season of Invader, and he ended up with 4th with an ATST. Because every turn, even playing stand-in orders, he was given an order to the ATST and all 3 shore troopers, and that's exactly what.
It turns out order control is really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that's one of the biggest things that makes the AAT work. I think is all Mike's point is.
Yeah, and I think later in the cast we're going to get to some more awesome things that really make the clone vehicle shine. So that's going to be fun.
Yep.
I was going to say, I do think it's worth noting that the Saber tank is really strong because of R2 behind it too. Like effectively, it's a 13 wound tank. Not to like take away from everything that was said here, but like making the Saber tank effectively 13 wounds if you need it to be is extremely strong.
Yeah, it's like the stuff around it matters.
Yeah, like if Empire could take R2 in an ATST list.
Like all of a sudden you just got like 15 health, behemoths walking around. Like I don't know, like yeah.
That's it. That's it. You heard it here, folks. We're gonna run a Notorious Scoundrels tournament. All lists can have whatever you want in there. Just throw them in the pile, and we're gonna see what happens.
That'd be really interesting, actually.
That would be legitimately fun.
Yeah, just remove all the faction restrictions and see what people come up with.
That'd be wild.
I'd probably just play like Dooku Operative Luke.
Yeah, that seems pretty good.
That seems good.
I'd probably do like Palpatine in a separatist list with B1s.
That also sounds really gross.
Palpatine R2D too.
Yeah, there you go.
Would be sick.
I'm gonna pull the strings R2, move them.
Yeah, pull the strings R2, or just having R2 in there for the extra activation with Palp. Because R2 could make like 11 act Palp lists possible. That would be kind of ridiculous.
You could probably get to 12 with B1s in there too.
Yeah, that's true.
Just do like 12 activation Palp and still have heavy.
I'm nauseous thinking about this.
Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll do something like that.
When did I start?
All right, so the top 8, real quick faction breakdown. There were 3 Rebels, 1 Empire, 2 Separatists, and 2 Republic.
It's a fairly even split.
Yeah. And the top 4 was actually one of each.
Yeah, that's fabulous.
I thought was really cool.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Then you remember that ARC troopers exist.
Well, they didn't for this tournament, so it was fun. Well,
yeah.
Well, it lasted. Yeah, no, it was great to see one of each faction in the top 4. That was perfect. All right, you guys got any other, as far as like tournament results notes?
No, I mean, it was a pretty fantastic tournament. I think that everybody should give Eric Rihas some crap for absolutely just infiltrating very poorly in his semifinals game. He deserves that.
Tauntauns once again did not win a tournament. They didn't even crack top 4, did they? I don't remember.
I definitely tuned in, saw what Riha had eyed, and I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, I didn't see that game, but yeah, I saw that he was the one Imperial in the top 8.
It was an absolutely sick play, just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but he proved that tenacity Aiden is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, if he had done that against any other faction, he would have been golden.
Yeah, he would have looked like a genius.
So Kylie, basically what happened was he turn 1 incapacitated like a clone unit, and that was gonna like basically just smoke a sniper strike team. He got into melee, and then like he must have forgotten that Call Me Captain was a thing. So JJ just Call Me Captain next turn and basically ruined Aiden's day.
Just standby punched him to death. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah.
She tanked a lot, though.
She's really tanky.
Unfortunately, they were playing Sabotage the Moisture Evaporators on advanced positions, and they each had basically deployed along the Long March table edge, and Aiden was in the middle of the board when she died, and JJ was red player, and he just backed up and retreated. And
R1's win condition became kill the Saber, which is not a good place to be.
Yeah, that's not great. So in certain circumstances, a genius play, not in that specific one.
From a certain point of view.
Yeah.
We love you, Eric.
Yep. Yeah, so it was a great tournament. Thanks to everyone that watched on the various channels. Thanks to all the judges, the judge team, and the organizers, and all you streamers, and all of our sponsors too.
Hey, thanks to GenCon Online as well, by the way. I know this was like a new experience for all of them, and you know they had their hands full, and they were extremely responsive when I talked to them.
Yeah, I'm sure they had. I mean, obviously they were running a whole online convention for the first time ever for them. So
yeah, they did a lot with the little, and it was really awesome.
Awesome. You guys got anything more to say about the tournament?
Do you want to run one of these again sometime?
I think we should do it every month.
We should just have a Legion Discord Prime Championship.
I don't know about every month, but it's definitely like a thing that is doable.
You could do a quarterly mass tournament like that, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure we could muster that prize support like that frequently.
Oh, definitely not.
But we definitely could probably organize something, less prize heavy, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It's a very different feel than because an in-person tournament, you're there, you've sort of preemptively just blocked off your entire weekend. It's a little different when you're sitting at your house in front of a computer. Less social for starters, which is the biggest aspect, but just logistically speaking, it's a very different challenge.
Yeah, it's just harder to justify with the wife and the kids.
Yeah,
it's just because they can still see you, right?
Yeah. All right. So, example, I stepped away for the 1 hour to cover the FFG stream with you and Cirillo, and I told her it would just be an hour. So, the moment that clock hit 6:05, and we were still discussing things. You couldn't hear her, but I could hear her saying, "Babe," because the clock was ticking. I told her just a little over an hour. She knows I'm upstairs sitting on my butt talking about Star Wars, and she's home with the kid alone. And I shouldn't have put a time frame on it, but it's the easiest thing. You tell the wife it's going to be a little an hour, and it's going to take more than an hour, but you just say it because it's just easier for them to compartmentalize it. And then after the hour gets up, they're crawling up your butt because you need to get back downstairs and handle the kid with her. So that's definitely a traffic cone when it comes to tournaments for married with kids.
Yeah, it's just an out of sight, out of mind thing. If you go out of town for a weekend for a convention, you're gone. That's it. There's you're not there. But if you're sitting on your ass in the basement or your office or wherever, and your kids are flipping out, and you're sitting there listening to your kids flip out, while your wife tries to handle it all by herself, you're like, oh, I'm such a bad person.
So even though that the same thing would be happening if you weren't there.
Yeah, I just wouldn't be
Right.
aware of it, and she wouldn't be, like it. I wouldn't be available. Like you're more available, even though you're not. If that makes sense. Like
What it sounds like is what you guys are trying to say is that when you're present, you feel guilty.
Well, it's not just that. Like it's hard to explain unless you've lived it.
Yeah, it's not really guilt. Like it is in a sense. I get what Kyle's saying, but it isn't at the same time. It's like more like a sense of responsibility. Like when you're away, you know that your kids, like giving your wife a hard time, but you're just like, I'm not home. I'm okay with that. I'm not even thinking about that. I'm playing Star Wars Legion, but I'm now talking about Star Wars Legion, hearing my kid freak out downstairs, and I know that my wife is sitting there thinking he could be down here helping me. He's not off in let's say he's not off in Chicago playing Star Wars Legion. He's upstairs just talking about it with two guys I don't even know, and I got to run down those stairs.
So what you just described as guilt. I want to be very clear here.
Yeah, by the way,
That's fine. In a sense, it doesn't feel like guilt in the moment. Let's put it that way. It just feels like you're like, oh crap, like I have to go do this.
Like imagine if you brought your wife and kids to like all of your Legion games at a tournament and they stood there at the table with you. Like even just logistically speaking, despite the best efforts of whoever you brought with you to like keep your kids away from your table, they'd be like, what's that? What's that? What's that? And they'd be touching everything. They'd be wanting to interact with you because you're there, right? And like when you have a 3-year-old or 2-year-old, they don't understand that like you're there, but you can't interact with them. That's not like a thing, right? Like daddy's busy, leave me alone is not like
what you're describing is not guilt. I'm okay with that. Just like I understand your example. What Zach described was totally guilt.
And we encourage absolutely no one to choose this hobby over your family. Let's just be absolutely clear on that before it goes much further.
This is why online tournaments, people are like, oh, you're blocking off the same amount of time. It's exactly the same. It's totally not the same. It might be if you're, if you've got no responsibility to anyone else in your house, or even if you just don't have kids but you're married. But it's very different when you have kids.
Shout out to all the nerd dads out there.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Thanks. This segment dedicated to you, nerd dads. All right, that's enough about that topic, which most people probably don't care about.
Real American heroes.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of heroes, how about that drop, Mike?
Welcome to In the News.
Yeah, so
sorry, you said, sorry, what about that drop? And I looked at the sheet and there was no drop in here. I was confused.
Well, I was thinking of a certain command card we learned over the weekend. Kyle, if you want to guide us into it, and then I'll take over if you want.
Yeah, so we had 2 FFG streams. There was essentially like the in-flight report, which was just a bunch of previews with lots of fun pictures of the new stuff, but very little context. And then there was a panel with Luke Eddy and Brian Keelan and Corey DeVore on Saturday, where they actually talked in detail, or some more detail, about the new releases, which is Anakin, Maul, and spec packs for the new specialist packs for the new factions, which we'll talk about. We'll go through essentially not only what they showed as far as cards and such are concerned, but also what they verbally conveyed some concrete information about how these units work in the game. So we'll go over that. And you want to take it away, Zach, with our first unit here?
All right. It's Star Wars Legion. It's Star Wars itself. And when Clone Wars dropped, I'm sure we all thought to ourselves, where the hell is Anakin Skywalker? Well, have I got news for you. He's coming. And he's coming with a 3-pip that they showed on stream called Hero of the Clone Wars, which is what David segued into without even knowing he did it. First of all, I know we brought this up on Dash's TV when we were discussing it. Let's talk about this artwork real quick. It is beautiful. It's Anakin and Obi-Wan, and my favorite part is that Rex is behind them, just gunslinging away. And it's just such great. I feel like the artwork on these cards are just getting better and better. Same with the models. I know we've talked about this on past episodes, and we talked about the other day on the stream. But the modeling and the artwork is just getting so good. But let's talk about this 3-pip real quick, and we'll go over the keywords that come with it. It's a 3-pip, Hero of the Clone Wars. It's Anakin Skywalker in 2 units. It's permanent, which means that you're going to keep these keywords for the rest of the game. Anakin Skywalker gains Exemplar, Reliable 2, and at the end of his activation, if he is not at range 1 to 2 of a friendly unit, he gains 1 suppression token. So before we discuss that, I also skipped over one part, is that Anakin comes in at 160 points. So one thing that Luke mentioned on stream too, and it's here on this command card, is that his command card's coming with, perks, but it also comes with a drawback. And the drawback on this one is that if he's not at range at friendly units, he gains a suppression token. But other than that, what do you guys think?
This card's really good. I think we've seen the strength of surge tokens in the clone faction, and having basically a mini aggressive tactics, on your hero, because not only does he get 2 surge tokens a turn, but he has Exemplar to kind of gain a pseudo clone trooper keyword. Seems really strong, just generally.
Yeah, I was actually having this discussion earlier. Was like, and we were theorizing like an Anakin Padme list, and I was like, do you even need aggressive tactics? Because like Reliable 2 on Anakin is aggressive tactics like for free, but it's cut in half, but it's still not a 10-point tax on top of it, and it's just interesting to kind of think about that. And again, being the permanent keyword, meaning you have that for the whole game, not just the one round you play that card, is like super interesting.
Yeah, I also think that it's kind of got like, I'm glad you brought up like Padme, in that like their 3-pips are kind of similar in that Padme can play her 3-pip for Reliable, as can Anakin, and Padme clearly already has Exemplar, but they kind of share some like synergistic. They're basically like aggressive tactics together in a clone army,
just without the bad dialogue, which is good. So some other stuff that they touched on stream is that Anakin's going to be like a more offensive Obi-Wan, which I mean makes total sense if you've watched the Clone Wars series. Anakin just kind of like runs off and does his own thing, and I think they also mentioned that his I'm gonna mess this up. Dejemso mastery, is like defensive, but it's to also turn offensive. So they're basically gonna make like Anakin the opposite of Obi-Wan, which makes complete sense when you think about it in like a thematic sense.
Yeah, I mean, in the show, he just, and certainly in the movies too, he just kind of runs in there and he's like, "Hey guys, I got this. I'm Anakin Skywalker."
Right.
Just kind of makes it up as he goes along.
They're kind of like yin and yang, I think, in a lot of respects. They balance each other out. They're like the perfect team to some extent, and I think that one being aggressive, one being defensive, really, makes that kind of shine through. I really hope Anakin Kenobi is like a thing.
Me too. I've been like ever since this happened, and I wasn't expecting the 160 point cost, mind you. I've been sitting here like, all right, well, what can I stuff into a list that has 2 Jedi that are going to be clipping like, 170 plus on each, assuming you take upgrades on Anakin. I mean, mostly Force Push. You're going to always put Force Push on a Jedi. So it's just like, what can I do? It's not going to be a lot of activations. Let's put it that way. But, when you have 2 strong units like that, I think a lot of things are possible. I don't know. Up until this point, I haven't really had to think about 2 units with Force Push on it in the same list, because actually, now that I'm sitting here, I don't think you can even do that, right?
You can do Palpatine Invader, right?
Palpatine Invader, there we go. But that's like a bajillion points, so that doesn't happen.
And Palpatine's has trouble getting within range 1 of things, so
that's fair. Though I would like to point out that later in this episode, I think David's going to talk about the Separatist character that they revealed. He can also hang out in a list with Dooku.
That's true.
That's a whole other thing.
Oh, man.
So excited.
All right. I didn't even think about this when I was thinking about these things, but here we are. Double Force Push, jumping units. It's going to be crazy. Wow. Because Anakin does come with jump, which is a, a key thing for Jedi in this game. One thing that was confirmed by Luke, and it was in the release article when they previewed what they were going to show off at GenCon, is there's a yellow card in Anakin's pack, which we're being told is some sort of like flaw mechanic. It plays similarly to a command card. It doesn't replace a command card, but it's played during the command card phase, and you actually give it to your opponent, I think is what he said. So it's a bit interesting to think that you're going to play a card or have a card in your army, but you actually have to hand it to your opponent, and it's going to be a whole new mechanic. It's all speculation, but it seems like that's going to be an interesting change to the game.
I hope it's called I Hate Sand.
Ironically, that is the name of the list of Anakin and Padme for me is just I hate sand, because it needs to be there somewhere. But if that flaw card is called I hate sand, I would absolutely lose my mind.
How hilarious would it be if it just came with like a little bag of basing sand in the box, and like that the card text was just like, take the bag of sand and dump it on the board.
Hobby store owners everywhere would murder FFG.
Yeah, probably.
Oh man, well now all I can think of is all the memes that came from Spider-Man when he said, "I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark," and there was like a bag of sand, and they said this is Spider-Man from Avengers, but that's for another story. Spoiler alert. But another card that actually got mentioned off stream in an article has some great Anakin artwork, mind you. Offensive stance. It is the first card of its kind, if I'm not mistaken. It is a training upgrade, but it specifically says it is for a Force user only, or the person that you're applying it to has to have a Force slot. And that reads, at the start of your activation, you may flip this card. When you perform an aim action, gain 2 aim tokens instead of 1. You cannot spend dodge tokens, and it comes in at 5 points. What do you guys think?
BOGO. Buy one, get one.
Nice. I think it's interesting that it seems like we've only got half the card. It seems to do something when you flip it. Not really clear what. I don't know. I think it's hard to judge without knowing what happens when you flip it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is nice to know that on this one side, you're getting 2 aims for the price of 1, as Kyle said, BOGO. But it's not just for you, because he has Exemplar if you play it at 3-pip, and he can just keep on passing those aims to somebody else. Maybe Obi-Wan is ahead of you, and he's fighting somebody, and he's in melee, and maybe he's not wounded, so tenacity is not triggered. And I don't know if you've ever rolled Obi-Wan's lightsaber, but sometimes it can roll like hot garbage. Okay, and maybe you need some aims. And
Zach's over here like, you know what Republic needs? Republic needs more token sharing.
Hey, it's token sharing Jedi. It's completely different than token sharing snipers. Okay, let me have this moment, because you're gonna shut it down in a couple minutes with Maul, and I'm gonna fear Maul for a little bit. But I think it's an interesting upgrade. I like that it is a flippable card, like you mentioned, Mike. So it'll be interesting to see the other side. But I do think seeing specific upgrades that are for certain spots, but they only work for certain units, is kind of a good design space, and I'm interested to see where they take it.
Yeah, I also think like Anakin's sculpt is amazing. He's got like multiple poses, and I think they even did like his cloak a little differently to like get the poses in there right. He's like, the poses are super aggressive. They've even like modeled like the scar on his face and stuff. It's like indented a little bit, so it's like easy to kind of like just throw like some shade on there, and it'll kind of fill in pretty nicely. So I don't know. Looks fantastic. A++ from me.
Get out your teeny tiny brushes and get ready to paint that little scar. It does look amazing, though. You're right, and I think they said on stream that they had to model like 2 different torsos, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he said that there's actually 2 different torsos in the kit, because the 2 different like poses, the way he's got his arms, like it doesn't quite fit in to like the 2 arm sets don't fit into the same torso, basically.
This is my favorite pose, the one where the crossbody one where he's like blocking. That just looks great. It's my favorite pose. Like, I thought Operative Luke's was really good. This is just another step up.
Yeah, and I do think that Mike touched on it. They like specifically did say like they had to model his robes differently than Obi-Wan's, and like it was just a whole different process for Anakin, which is awesome. I mean, you're getting two faces, two different bodies. You're almost getting two models in the kit for one. Another, I guess, BOGO, right, Kyle?
There you go. Yep. BOGO.
And then obviously after that, there were some specialists. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, so we've been running around with Galactic Civil War era, specialists for a while now. I guess they've probably been out almost 2 years at this point, I think. Maybe I'm crazy and it's only one, but I think it's two.
Like 1.5 ish.
Yeah.
They came out just before LVO last year. So
okay. Yeah, so 1.5 years ish. We'll split the difference. And so basically what they went ahead and confirmed on stream here was that we were going to go ahead and get, I believe, a commander, a medic, an engineer, and some sort of comm specialist, which was pretty awesome. And notably, the medic and the engineer, it sounds like, are actual combatants, but will only be able to heal 1 hit point of whatever they normally would heal instead of 2. So that's an interesting difference. It'll be cool to see what like points cost they clock in at. They can't do as much healing, so maybe they're a little bit more affordable than they otherwise would be. So a couple other things. They revealed a 1 pip out of the specialist pack for the Republic, and it is called Synchronized Offensive. It gives a 1 vehicle in order, sort of. It's on the card, it says 1 vehicle. It's Republic only, and after a friendly vehicle unit is issued in order, choose a friendly clone trooper unit at range 1 to 2 of it and issue that unit in order. So this card is basically just enabling fire support, I think. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, it basically says, hello, would you like 20 dice to the face?
on a 1 pip.
On a 1 pip.
Yeah, you're also coordinating to 5s and then...
Yeah, there you go.
All right, I thought Mike was the degenerate clone, not David. Come on.
You can do some pretty crazy things with this thing. So, like, you can take a saber, right? And then you could take a bark. And I know I've been, like, not hot on barks, but I actually think barks may be pretty good with this card specifically. Like, you could take bark, and have an uplink on one of them. And then you could have 3 clone units behind them. And then with this card, like, hand 5 orders out with 5s. Because the text on this says after friendly vehicle unit is issued an order. It doesn't say issued an order from this card. So the order from uplink will work to go ahead and trigger the text effect on it, which is very cool. Like, you could have triple barks and pop multiple uplinks and get a bunch of order tokens. So this could be a 6 or 7 order, 1 pip if you or have kitted your list out to try and abuse the power level of this card. So I think it's awesome that they're giving vehicles some much needed support. I mean, I know that the Saber did really well, but it's not like you're probably going to take 2 Saber tanks in a list. And if you did, you probably your list probably will need a little help anyways, because you're going to be on like a 7 or 8 activation count at that point.
Yeah, it's nice to see, this generic card. Like the Civil War era generic cards are kind of hit or miss. Coordinated fire is really good. Covering fire is selectively good. So is the 2 pips. But like the 1 pips are basically garbage.
No. They're not basically garbage. They're hot garbage.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. You don't know the names of those cards off the top of your head, which means they are not good.
Sure, I do. It's covert ops, and maybe I don't know the other.
Okay.
one.
Sabotage communications.
Sabotage communications. So as you do it on top of your head. Come on.
I'm just busting balls, David.
Yeah. Anyway, they're not good. It's nice to see, a generic command card 1-pip that is not only appears to be good, but looks like it's great. Like, this is something you definitely want to include in a list with a vehicle. There are not very many 1-pips that hand out more than one order. Common Cause. Is that the only one? Chewie's one.
I mean, without like uplink
Without
shenanigans.
uplinks and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's the only one. Yeah.
Okay. So even that, like, that's quote unquote all it does, but that's also great.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I mean, do you count the entourage on Palpatine or Krennic? I don't think it doesn't come from the card; it comes from the unit.
Yeah, it's a different mechanic.
But again, that's really strong, right? Like,
it's very strong. Like, just being able to hand out, more than one order token on your 1-pip turn has always been strong. There's a reason people take, uplinks on vehicles or, other things. It used to do like comms relay shenanigans to like get orders to things on 1-pip turns with uplinks. Like, it used to cost a lot more. So I think this is really cool. So I think command card aside, maybe the most important thing that they not spoiled is the wrong word, that they stated about the specialist pack is that the generic clone commander is going to be 55 points, which is pretty crazy. I think Rex is 90, and he's the cheapest clone commander presently. I think that we don't know any of the keywords on this card. We really don't know what it does. The only things that we do know is that, or that we can surmise, is that it's probably a clone trooper. I think that's fair. And that Luke did say that both the specialist commanders were going to have something with them that like allows them to fit into the army. He didn't really go into like what that meant or like what that suggested, but that they would synergize well. So I think that this is really interesting because a lot of clone lists right now are taking like naked phase 1s that are 52 points. And if a clone commander like has some sort of ability that synergizes with the army well, for an extra 3 points, he's probably just better than a naked phase 1 if you have a commander slot open.
Yeah, definitely. I think the funniest part of the stream, and I joked around on the stream that we did on Dashes TV, was I felt like that like Luke was calling like the generic like rebel and imperial officers like a tax, like a commander tax. If you go back and listen to the way he was saying it, he's like, oh well, sometimes you take them, but you're only taking them because you have to. And he was basically alluding to the fact that he probably feels that like 55 points for this commander is going to be good, as opposed to what he thinks, that Gideon Argus and I don't even know if the Imperial one is named, that they're just there because you need a body and you need a commander, which was just funny to me to see, like, to hear him talk about like in that way. Like we can call it a commander tax. We're a competitive podcast, right? Like or we're in the Discord where we say something's a commander tax, that's fine. It was just funny to hear Luke kind of alluded to that way.
Yeah, he definitely suggested that like this guy was going to be good enough to just like be your commander and you were going to be happy with it. So it's really cheap for a commander, and I think it opens up a lot of list building options for clones. You can take a saber tank and not feel like you're using that much. Though I do think, I don't know, are Rex's command cards probably worth 45 points? Or 35 points? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Take that, clankers might be worth 35 alone.
Yeah, for real. No lie there, Zach.
So we don't know what the other generic command cards are, so we'll have to see. But it'll be interesting.
I think the 2-pip is somewhat visible on the sheet, but you only see the name of it. I think it was Airstrike or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I also, going back to the models here, like the clone commander is holding like this hollow projector of another clone in his hand. It looks so dope. And I think they said that like all of the clones in this kit are just basically going to be swappable, interchangeable. They're all going to have like phase 1, phase 2, no helmet heads. One dude's got a mohawk. It all looks really good. I don't know.
Yeah, they actually went incredible. they went to in depth. The one that is holding the the holograph or hologram, whatever you want to call it.
Holopuck.
Yeah, holopuck. There we go. He has like a pauldron, but he also has like a different like shoulder pad underneath the pauldron, and it's different than the shoulder pad on the other side. Corey was talking about it like in depth. Like they like really wanted to make these specialists kind of pop.
Yeah, you can even do a pose where he's like holding his helmet under one arm and holding the hollow puck in the other with like the non-helmeted face, which I think is awesome. We talked last week about how like it's super. You see all these dudes with no helmets on running around the battlefield, and it's super impractical. But this one I could actually see because the whole hollow puck thing has the feeling of like a briefing, not
totally.
like mid combat. So the holding the helmet off, looking at the hollow puck, that's like a pose that I can envision it actually occurring.
Taking the helmet off to rest, or
right.
Sir, a message is coming in from Palpatine. Order 66.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we still have 2 more things to go over. David, you want to fill us in on some of the Separatist shenanigans?
Yeah, so there's a new Separatist commander they announced. You might be familiar with him. His name is Maul. Not Darth, just Maul. I guess he is Darth Maul in this iteration since he is still working for the CIS. But they did reveal that he will be coming to Star Wars Legion. He has an amazing sculpt, similar to Anakin. He's got his double-bladed lightsaber, and his face tattoos, kind of like Anakin's scars, are actually modeled on the sculpt, which is really, really cool. I'm so relieved. I'm so relieved. Freehanding those would have been a nightmare. So thank you, FFG, for that gift of a really amazing sculpt. So thanks to him, I've had the Duel of the Fates theme stuck in my head for like the last 48 hours. But he's going to come with some of these Sith probe droid things that look really amazing. Those are those little scout droids that he has in Phantom Menace, if I'm not mistaken. And they appear to be ranked special forces, so he's actually like a 2 units in 1 kind of box. Oh, he's an operative. I'm sorry. I thought it was a commander. My bad. I guess he wouldn't be a commander, would he?
Yeah, it makes total sense that he's an operative.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if you think about it, some people have been complaining like, oh, why put Maul in here? Well, during the first movie, he was working for the Trade Federation. The Trade Federation was working for Palpatine. So, why not? The only rank he really could be was an operative.
Yeah, and also like he's Darth freaking Maul. Like, if you're gonna make a Star Wars game, he's one of the most interesting and iconic characters in the series.
Yeah. I want to rant really quick because there's been a ton of people on Facebook that are like, oh my God, Maul's coming to Star Wars Legion. He's never been part of the Separatists. This is crazy. Like, I'm sorry. He's literally the first bad guy we see if you watch the Star Wars movies, like from front to back. He's like the epitome of like what a Sith is supposed to be. I don't know. Like this is it. This is the pinnacle.
But keep doing it because it gives me something to read every day.
Bottom line, he's awesome. I'm happy he's in the game.
They revealed some things about him. He's cost the same as Anakin, 160 base, apparently. He has a mastery called Juyo Master. We don't know what that does, but I'm sure we will soon enough. He does have jump, which makes complete sense since he's super acrobatic during the Phantom Menace and uses his agility to duel Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan simultaneously. And then his 1-pip is extremely stellar, speaking of being anti-Jedi. So it's called Duel of the Fates. Maul gains 1 dodge token and disengage, so I'm already interested. While Maul is engaged with an enemy unit, that unit cannot spend aim, dodge, standby, or surge tokens. So he basically says, yeah, all those tokens you have, you don't get to use those as long as I'm in melee with you. That's really nuts.
Yeah, you couldn't hear me because I put myself on mute as I threw up on next to my computer.
This card just like puts up a middle finger to hello there. Like,
as someone who plays like Obi-Wan, like 90% of the time I play Legion, this card, and Mike saw my face like live when this card got like revealed. My face just dropped. Like, and it's probably still dropping right now because I'm sitting here and I'm gonna have a nightmare again about this card because it's just gonna shut me down.
Yeah, you're gonna play like General Kenobi, and then Maul's gonna laugh at you because you can't spend your giant stack of surges.
I think the best part of this is the dodge token and disengage, honestly. Like the can't spend tokens part is amazing in very specific situations, but I think it's also like there will be games kind of like Luke's, Jedi Luke's 3-pip, where you don't even use the primary effect of this card at all. And you're just using it for the free dodge token and disengage.
Yeah, there's very few 1-pips that have dodge tokens attached to them for like Jedi characters.
Something equally cool about his command hand is that he has, Luke Eddy explained during the GenCon Legion segment on Saturday, that Maul actually has 2 1-pip cards, and he will sub out a 3-pip for a 1-pip, kind of like Han subs out his 1-pip for a 0-pip. So you'll be able to build a 1-pip, an additional 1-pip into your hand in place of a 3-pip when you're taking Maul, which is also insane.
So if you run him with Dooku, you can have 3 1-pips, one of which has cunning.
Yeah, so like I will always have the initiative like all the time, essentially, in that list. That's kind of nutty.
Maul and Dooku. Oh.
I mean, he's an aggressive character, right? Like that's like he just attack. Like he's relentless. I don't know. It just
We don't know if he's relentless. We didn't see the rest of his card. So
I was using that as like
as an adjective, not the keyword. Okay.
Relentless, person. He just like in that fight with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, he just like constantly is just, I don't know. He's vicious.
He's also got a pile of attack dice because they said he has 8 attack dice. They didn't reveal the colors, but that kind of makes sense considering he's got double lightsaber. Kind of like Grievous has, multiple sabers, and Grievous can swing 8 as well. So you've got a lot of punch there.
Yeah, I think they did mention. I think Luke mentioned that it's not gonna be like Grievous where he's got Arsenal. It's actually just gonna be 1 lightsaber. I just want to put that in there as a note, but I'm pretty sure Luke said that it's not gonna function like that.
Oh, so you can't like split it up.
Yeah, which is, I think it's interesting. Because you see him do that against Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. But if you think about it, he kind of does that in more of like a defensive way rather than an offensive way. And when he does go offensive on them, he's actually doing that one-on-one. So I kind of get the theme that they went for, that he's swinging just 1 lightsaber rather than 2, even though it's a dual blade.
I wonder if there's like something thematic in there, like because I remember in the movie, I think they cut his lightsaber in half, if I'm not mistaken. At one point.
So the fight scene on Tatooine, he only engages 1 lightsaber. So it's like because I'll never forget it. I remember watching The Phantom Menace as like a kid, and you see him fight on Tatooine. He's only got 1 blade, and you're thinking, all right, that's normal. And then as the music starts to pump up on Naboo, and the door starts opening, and you get those chills down your spine because you're like, what's coming up? It's Maul. You assume it's Maul, and rips out his lightsaber, and 1 blade comes out, and you've never seen like a dual blade. Well, at least I didn't, because I was too young to like read the books or like play like video games at that point that had like dual like lightsabers. And he opens up the other blade, and you're just like, oh shit, he's got 2 blades, and that's it. So it's interesting, but they do cut it in half, and then they cut him in half, so it balances out.
So there's one more tidbit they mentioned on the stream, which is that the probe droids are a separate unit. Special forces. So.
Right, they're like it's a 2-unit pack, essentially.
They didn't say what the probe droids did, but should we hit the generic separatist expansion pack?
Is it generic? I really think you mean this is the Kyle Dornbos expansion.
Yeah, people have been joking for a while that I'm a tactical droid, and now I can play one in Legion. So there you go, bell bottoms and all. This guy's gonna disco his way right into my heart. yeah, it's awesome. I'm super excited. They mentioned that the T series is also 55 points. So I've already seen like other Separatist players basically rejoicing over this one fact, even though they know literally nothing about the unit or the unit card. Because if he's a commander, if he fulfills your minimum one commander and costs 55 points, I mean that's just going to open up so many list building ideas for a faction that already kind of has like I think probably the best internal balance of the various factions right now, as far as like the widest array of units and builds that are good. And this is going to blow that even more wide open, I think.
Yeah, I feel like this guy could have 1 hit point and he'd be fine.
Yeah, just have him piss on a line of sight blocker or something in the backfield, and check that commander box on your list builder and do nothing else, and you'll feel good about it.
120 points less than Grievous, but it's okay. Just stand there in your corner and you're fine.
Wait, did you say it's 120 less than Grievous?
Isn't Grievous 175 base, or is it even more than that? See,
well, I was just trying to make sure it was 120 because that's like actually literally the cost of like 6 E5Cs.
Yeah, hold on. I don't know nothing about droids. Is 175 his base?
I
think. It is.
Yeah,
no, it is.
Yeah.
Grievous
is so basically every double AAT list just gained an actual gun line.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah,
you can just math it out just thinking that, like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Although Grievous is a reasonably important part of that double AAT build, just as far as having like a melee threat.
Fair enough.
So it's not like all gain there, but yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, you see.
I mean, I think you could easily do like a
legitimate gun line,
like a 13 or 14 activation list or something. Take like 6 B1s, 3 staps, and that's only 13. If you took like 3 staps and 3 strike teams and 6 B1s,
I was just gonna say, because you could like realistically, so you have 120 points from Grievous and 2 staps are like what 146. So you're just gonna find like 26 points, and you basically add 2 units to your list building for losing Grievous and going down to Bell Bottoms guy. So
yeah, you could do double AAT, double stab.
Do you think Cad Bane Tac Droid could be a thing?
I mean, it's hard to say without knowing specifically what this guy does, but yeah, if you want to make a list focused on Cad Bane and just have this guy check your commander box, I don't see why not.
I dig it.
I mean, similarly, probably like Maul might operate that way too, right?
Right.
Well, and just like Cad Bane, Maul's an operative, so you got to take him with something else. And if you want to have some beef in there, running like Maul Dooku seems more doable than Palpatine Vader, because the Separatist support elements and the core units are cheaper than the Empire ones. But you're still probably going to be stretching it, to get to enough activations with that, if you want to do that. But you could, certainly with 55 points in there, if Maul's 160 and this guy's 55, that's what, 215 for the two of them. So that's basically like Dooku plus 10 points. So yeah, I could easily see that. They did also preview the generic 1-pip for Separatists, Mechanized Incursion. It's essentially like a direct mirror of the clone one, which it gets really interesting when you combine it with Coordinate, right? Like Staps have Coordinate. If you got 3 Staps and they each bounce an order to each other, do you get like 3 additional free orders out of that?
I think the answer to that question is yes.
I think so too. It's not clear to me that's like, I mean, clearly that's fine. But it's not like Separatists currently have much trouble getting all face-ups or mostly face-ups on their 1-pip turns as it is. So I see this as like a super flex card, but I don't see the, replicating a bunch of orders thing being like it's just kind of overkill, I think.
Yeah, it certainly seems a lot better for the Republic. I think you're probably still playing it if you've got a vehicle in your Separatist list.
Yeah.
It
saves you having to burn an uplink or something on a given turn, to kick off the rest of that order chain.
Yeah, which I think is fine. If you don't have to tap your uplink on an important turn and you get to save it for later, that's always very valuable.
Yep. They also had an actual image of the T series upgrade card in the article. He's got a red dice with sidearm ranged. So right now the only sidearm keyword we have is the IRG one, which basically means they have to use that weapon. And then you lose AI attack, so similar to the security droid there, but also gain reliable one, and it becomes your unit leader for 18 points. It seems pretty good. I could see this in both B1s and B2s.
Yeah, it seems really good for B2s. We've been talking about whether or not they've been like, if the range 2 B2 list is actually a thing. This kind of makes up for a lot of the AI attack shenanigans we've been talking about.
Yeah. Like, just take 6 B2s with this guy.
Right.
It's noticeable on the card that he actually has a health denomination on him, which we had only seen on like Echo and Tristan and Ursa and the reveals for them. But he has one health in the corner to show you that, which I think is important, because basically to put him in a B2 unit, like you just said, he still only has 1 health. He's not going to gain, because B2s are 2 health per model, correct?
Yeah.
So you don't gain that extra health by throwing him into a B2, which is notable.
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, I'm glad, because that would be silly.
Yeah, and if you look at the art, there's actually a B2 directly behind him. So maybe they were feeling the same way you guys are, throw him in some B2s and go crazy. But he's only going to have 1 health, though.
I think it's still, reliable's an amazing keyword. I think that's still pretty good.
Someone also pointed out to me that if you take this guy in a B2 squad with the rocket heavy, that you have suddenly have a 3 red white with blast at range 3. Like, that's kind of devastating against like low save things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And you won't have to like AI attack when you enter range 3, right?
Yeah, you can just move, shoot, or recover, shoot, and just do it because you don't have AI attack anymore.
Yeah, and you have to wait for the gun to cycle, but like if you go to range 2, you can use the range 2 normal gun if you have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not like that's anything to shake a stick at, especially when you got a surge token free from reliable.
Yeah, so it's not like 4 red and then like 3 black, 3 white. That's really nasty.
If you stick them on the ACM.
On the ACM squad, yeah. Wow. That's severe.
It's like a saber tank pool.
It's like fleets wish they could do this, especially because fleets care about suppression, but these things don't. And these guys have armor 1 on top of that. Like, that's really good.
Yep. Can we talk about these sculpts real quick? There's some really interesting. Did they talk at all about like specifically what each of these models is supposed to be?
No, I'm actually confused as to which one's the medic droid and like which one's the
I think the medic droid. I think the medic droid is the one that's got a lot going on. If I had to take a guess,
the one with the buzzsaw on it.
Yeah, he's got like a lot.
That's why
going
I'm
on.
confused, because like the stuff he's holding sort of looks more mechanical in nature, and like
that's fair.
The other droid almost looks like it's holding a baby, but I don't know.
I think it's a B1 head now that you say that.
Okay. Yeah, that other droid's holding like a turntable and a condenser mic.
All right, well now I have no idea what's going on with these models.
Turntable and a condenser mic.
That's what it looks like, man.
Please relax while I treat you and play some smooth tunes.
He'll play smooth jazz while he's fixing you.
That does look like a turntable and a condenser mic. There you go. We got the Disco T series and his DJ right there next to him.
Yeah. Somebody needs to paint this guy like that. Like, just, paint him in like, Technicolor and just like, discoing out. That'd be great.
The Techno Union Technicolor.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think my favorite sculpt here, I think, is actually the flying droid. I don't even know what it is.
Me either, but I'm if I have an extra one of those base thingies, I'm stealing it and using it for a Dio. One of those flying bases.
Sure.
Looks like a baby probe droid.
Yeah, I think they call it some sort of Viper droid of some sorts.
Actually, now that you mention it, Kyle, I think this looks very similar to Dio. It almost looks like the same thing, except this one's like in motion.
Yeah, the preview article calls it a Viper recon droid to collect valuable intel, whatever that means.
Yeah. I actually don't know what kind of droid Dio is. All I know is that he looks sort of similar.
He looks very similar, yeah. Maybe he's also like a more modern version of whatever this thing is.
That's very possible. I agree with you. The flight stand is so much better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's the curved flight stands really give that appearance of motion.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys got any other thoughts here?
Yeah, you're damn right I do. There's one upgrade we haven't talked about yet, and it's called Portable Scanner.
Oh, yeah.
It is the electro binoculars for dodge tokens. Let me tell you that every list with a Force user is going to take this thing. You got naked rebel troopers in your commander operative Luke list? Slap a portable scanner on it. You got stormtroopers in your Darth Vader list? Slap a portable scanner on it. You got naked B1s in your Dooku list? Slap a portable scanner on it. I don't know. It's 6 points and just like turns like core units into deflecto machines. I think it's crazy and awesome.
It's budget force reflexes.
Yeah, but it's force reflexes that you don't have to like
rely on activating.
Rely on activating A, so you can have it before you activate. But B, you don't have to refresh it every turn, so you don't need Master of the Force to get it back. Like it's very, very good. You can take a bunch. I think it's gonna potentially revolutionize Force users in this game, and I'm kind of excited about it.
Oh, I'm pumped. Someone was theorizing with me earlier, and I think they might be correct. So the B1 battle droids can ignore this card's upgrade icon requirement, and he was saying, "Do you have? I think you can throw both portable scanner and electro binocs on a droid unit conceivably because you ignore the upgrade icon requirement. So you could have a naked B1 do both, give you an aim and a dodge. Now, is it good? Not necessarily, but I mean, Grievous likes dodges and aims." And you could do it all in one shot. It doesn't seem terrible if you have the points.
Yeah, I mean that would be what's the Binox 8 points, so there'd be 14 points for the two of those. I would personally rather just pay the extra like 4 points and throw an E5C on that naked squad. But yeah, I could definitely see this. Like, it's not. I mean, it's very common in a separatist list to run one or more like naked B1s that just have an uplink on them, and often I find myself, when running them with Dooku, just recovering and then being like, I guess I'll move or something with my second action. This does take an action, but if you're putting it on a unit like a naked rebel trooper or a naked B1 that doesn't typically use up that second action for something super important anyway, you might as well throw a dodge token on your force user. So
yeah, from all to shut it down, so it's fine.
Yeah, for high velocity to shut it down.
Yeah.
Oh, stop. I mean, you'll note that I did not include clone troopers in my suggested list of things to put it on because they don't need this shenanigans.
They just take
put it on Leia. Just put it on Leia already.
Would she get
generic? Yeah, so you take cover 3, so you can put it on 3 snipers of situational awareness and give the middle finger to those arc snipers.
I mean, so let me ask you this question: electro binoculars is very close to like an auto take on Veers. Is this an auto take on Leia?
I think so.
I think so, actually.
Yeah, I think especially when Mandalorian's release, and I think that Leia has some pretty good synergies with Mandos and dodge tokens and nimble and stuff like that. Yeah, you could. I think so.
No one thinks Rebel veterans are good, but I want to point out there's a Rebel veteran on the art of this card, and I think that veterans have a training slot. So
how can you tell it's a Rebel veteran? You can't see his face.
Come on.
Yeah, it could just be like a normal Rebel schmo in a snow outfit.
Clearly,
you know there's a P1 battle droid under there.
Clearly, it's a Tauntaun rider that just lost its mount.
Right? There you go.
That actually is what it looks like, actually.
Because it got burned up by crits. So it wants you to do situational awareness.
Or it died from the cold, which is apparently a thing that can happen to cold weather beasts, but not humans on a snow planet.
Well, I'll see you in hell.
Yeah. Anyway.
Makes a really good sleeping bag. I saw it here.
All right. Let's you guys got anything else?
Make covering fire great again.
Hey, maybe, between this and situational awareness, maybe we're going to see the revenge of the Dodge token.
Yeah, for sure. I want everyone out there in our audience to know that Kyle Dornbos thought this episode was going to be 30 minutes and that we didn't have enough to talk about.
Yeah, just let it be known. We're in minute 81.
I thought it was possible. I mean, we went on a rant about MOV and about the differences between in-person and online cons. So
I'm just making a point.
All right.
That's all.
All right. Well, we are the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
I'm Mike.
I'm David.
And I'm having nightmares about Maul.
We'll see you next week.